Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are very excited today. I promised you that I would do a live broadcast on trying to make goat cheese. Yeah, right. I need to just make sure that you all know I have never done it before. But, it was worth trying it, and that's what we're going to do. Great believer, if you can see me try to do it live, then I'm pretty sure that you are going to get inspired to probably do your own version of this if it doesn't all go totally wrong. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I obviously don't want my hair everywhere, is to just put my hair into pigtails to control it, because as some of you know, I've got hair that doesn't like to be controlled a great deal. And I thought this will help me not drop it into everything. And there we go. And actually is great memory for me, because I don't think I've worn my hair in pigtails since my 30s. Oh, it's going to need a bit more of a twist on that one. At least my 20s and maybe my 30s. So, yeah, there we go. But you can probably imagine I had long hair, and that's how I used to wear it when I was riding my horses. I used to do dressage. Next thing now is to wash my hands and not my text too long. We're going to be doing two things today, and one is we're going to be doing the cheese, and the other one that we're going to do is do a quick, easy, I've already seen hair, a nice, quick and easy minestrone type soup. So welcome to everybody and wish me luck. Now then, in terms of getting our mind in the right place, what could go wrong? Probably will. All right? Do we all agree on that? So the main thing to do is to get my mind in the right space to start with. Now, what I've got, if I can just get all my bits, here, is I've got a bit of feedback before we start. Do you remember the story about the board? And this is for Bernice. I promised myself I would look into this. Do you remember we were making this board last week? And what we found out was that if you have one of these boards and you rub the chalk pen off, you end up with this ghosting. You see that? It's actually, if I have to turn it to the right light. So Bernice, here is the answer that you were looking for. There is only one reason that it does this. By the way, I found out that I put on 2 layers of pledge, and that helped. But here's the real answer. These chalk pens are made to go on smooth surfaces, like glass would be a thing. So if you want to make a board like this with blackboard paint, put a layer or 2 of varnish on it, and then you'll find it'll work beautifully. Does that make sense, Bernice? And it was really that simple. I started to think about it, or cut a piece of glass to that size and drop it in. Yeah, easier than you thought, right? So that's the only thing, all right, because the wood, even if you put blackboard paint on it, the wood is still not smooth. Unless you get a totally smooth surface, these pens will ghost. So you need something that they won't. I'm going to be using my high gloss. Let me just show you here, Bernice. I put a very high gloss paint, special stuff on my artwork. And I'm going to try that on it and show you next week, okay? I don't know if you can see the high gloss on that. Yeah, you can see that's got a pretty high gloss on it, right? So that's what I'm going to try. try and get it back fairly square. There we go. All right. So Jody is going to help me with some of these instructions to make sure I don't miss anything, because I think the chances of my making a mistake are probably pretty good. And what I want to show you, if I can just turn the camera slightly for the laptop. What I have got is, you can see, this is difficult to do it in reverse. That's some goat milk, but actually I put the goat milk in here. So this is just on very low at the moment. I just wanted to get it to roughly room temperature. And I also have got some vinegar, some lemon juice, a fine sieve, and some salt. Now, as far as I can work out, that's all that we need. How many of you going, yeah, so let's see this one work. So the first thing it says is line a colander, that's a sieve, line a colander with 3 layers of cheesecloth. Well, you know I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I don't have that sort of a colander. So what I decided that I would do instead is to put it into my nut bag, which I think will have just as good a chance. And if it doesn't work well here, plan B is I will line this with coffee filters and then put it in. What do you reckon? I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to get that. So that's the first thing. I'm not going to do the way they told me to. In a heavy bottom saucepan, well, yeah, if I did that, I'd have to go all the way over there and you wouldn't enjoy that. So I'm actually going to do it in my rice cooker. Heat the goat milk until it reaches 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So I've got my candy thermometer here. And I'm now going to turn up the heat. I'm getting a little scared. So let me just, while I'm doing this, it says, stir frequently to ensure an even heat. All right, so I've got, Jody, a quart, I think, is 2 liters in Canadian, which I believe is a quart in American, of goat milk. And I am just going to sit here like an idiot and stir it. And every now and then, I am going to dip in my thermometer to see how it's doing, just so that you know right now, I don't think, oh yeah, it's just beginning to show round about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. We need to go to 180. Yeah. So do you think you could all do this bit? Nothing too difficult, right? Now, I've got a problem because you know I want to drink my coffee right now. So I'm going to keep stirring, put the thermometer down, and we will talk. Everybody had a good day? We had a fun broadcast at lunchtime for those of you who missed it. We were talking about guilt and shame and how to get over it. And I'm really grateful. And we met a new viewer called Caroline, or Carolyn. If she pops in, make sure you give her a warm welcome. And introduce yourself, those of you who weren't there at lunchtime, please, where you're from, your age, just so that she feels comfortable. All right, so here we are, Carolyn. Yes, I had a feeling I had it wrong the first time. And she's from Colorado, I believe. But obviously really enjoyed the room, and so we're hoping we'll see her back. So now then, how are we doing? This will probably be a fairly slow process until the moment I don't look at it, and then it will be a very fast process, and I will have it too hot, right? All possible. All right, so while we're doing this, this is all part of our series on Dear Mama Sal. Hi, Beth. all part of my series about coping with less money. I am a great believer, as some of you saw me make the yogurt cheese. And just so you know, I actually served it today when Dougie was visiting me. And he said, wow, that's incredible. How did you do that? So I showed him. And for those of you who, did anybody miss that? Because it really is so simple. But he just said to me, that's amazing. And I went, yep, I'm trying to learn. I hope I never have to do it, but I would like to know that I can do it if I need to. And then, Jody was saying the next thing we need to look at is how to make our own yogurt, right? So we'll try that too. All right, so here we go. And the trick to this, apparently, is to keep stirring it for two reasons. Number one, is because we want to make sure that the milk fat is evenly distributed, and also that the heat is evenly distributed through the milk. All right. So this whole thing about coping with less money is that I really do believe that we all are going to have that problem coming up. And so what I would ask you all to do is to understand these things that I'm trying to work out and show you is not because you will have to use them, just in case. Wouldn't it be nice to know you could make your own chev, they call it, a chev cheese, if you needed to. We now know that we can make a yogurt cheese without any problem. And now this is the next step up, which is the chev cheese. And that is the soft cheese, the soft white cheese that you can, also add herbs and stuff to. Hi, Chip. Good to see you. And so let me just get you. So here is my yogurt cheese for today. That is just working its way. And what I do is I use the whey that comes out of it in my bread. We are making chev cheese. That is the white goat cheese. Beth? Well, Beth, we're trying to. So not feta, but the soft white cheese that you buy at the store. And Jody, do we have any idea of roughly how much that costs? Or anybody else that has the ability to just do some fact checking for us? Because it's difficult for Jody on the system that she has. Yes, chev cheese, that's what it's called. But not everybody knows its real name. About now, I've got to put my finger in it, people. Yeah, it's beginning to warm up now. Not very much, but a little bit. Hi there, Sandy. Good to see you. We're making goat cheese. So all I've got literally in here is a quart, otherwise known as 2 liters, for those of us who are in Canada, of goat milk. All right, so Jody is saying that goat cheese, where she is, costs about $6 for 4 ounces. And I'm pretty sure we're going to get more than 4 ounces out of this. And what would 2 liters or a quart of goat's milk cost you? About the same, I think you said. So the question is, how much cheese do we get out of it, right, for it to become versatile? The other thing is, I don't know about you, but there was something wonderful about literally taking out, I'll just show you. When Dougie was here, I literally took out a container like this, took the top off it and turned it upside down and put some herbs on top and said, there we go. And he was really quite impressed. And, it was just so easy to do and so simple. And then he asked how I did it, of course. So then I showed him. And by the way, he's also going camping this week. Well, the good news is the thermometer does appear to be working, because, round about now I was thinking, I hope the thermometer's working. So we're up to 100 now. We need it up to 180. And what I've got ready is this nut bag in a jug. I've got a third of a cup of lemon juice sitting over there. And underneath it, I have 2 tablespoons of white vinegar. Well, Jeannie, I think it probably will be quite a saving. All right? That is my belief as well. So you can do the math, and, I'm pretty certain that we'll work it out, just how much cheese we get out of it. But I think more than anything, I looked at, if things got really bad, what things would I really miss? The things that were very difficult to get in hard times. And, funny enough, to me, cheese was one of them. I really do love my cheese. How about you guys? You probably know that from my nails, right? And so then I said, well, if cheese is what I would miss, then I need to know I can make some. And now I know I can make my own sort of cream cheese. And by the way, we had this just on crackers, and it was great. And now we're going to make a thicker cream cheese, a more solid one. Let me show you the difference there. That might be important. Just in terms of consistency. So the yogurt takes about 2 days. Just so I can show you. Takes about 2 days to get to this sort of consistency. All right, so it's still pretty loose, but very tasty. And if you don't like the taste of yogurt, you don't want to be making it, because the taste is really of thick yogurt, which is what it is. All right, so Jeannie's saying, I would definitely miss cheese. I love Stilton, Brie, sharp cheddar, etc. So yes, I thought the homemade yogurt cheese was a great way to start. And I must admit, Jody, that I have stopped buying cream cheese since I made my own yogurt cheese. Isn't that funny? I just went, oh, that's just what I need. So now we are at getting up there slowly. If I stop stirring it or distract myself too much, I'm going to just end up with boiling milk, which we don't want. Very good. I can hear my mother. Don't talk with your mouth full. Right. So we're slowly coming up a long way to go still. But I'm pretty certain it will increase the moment I don't watch it. For those of you who are watching for the first time, this is DearMamaSal, and we are a group of people who support one another. We are like an extended family. And what we concentrate on is learning how to cope with everyday life. And good and bad, because what most of you will agree with is that sometimes the good stuff is as difficult to cope with as the difficult stuff. So, if you have a subject that any of you would like me to talk about in terms of saving money, or if you found a way to save money that you think would be something I could demonstrate to the viewers, please let me know at DearMamaSal@gmail.com. I really have to say that one of the things I find about doing stuff like this. Okay, so Beth is saying I eat tons of cheese to keep my weight up. Yes, plus I really like it. You went up 4 pounds. Well done, Beth. And for those of you who don't know, Beth is one of our viewers that actually is trying to put on weight, unlike yours truly. I want to tell you, Jeannie, I don't know if you heard me say this on one broadcast, but I actually had a bone scan done, a proper bone scan, because osteoporosis was in my family. And when they did the scan, the woman said to me, gosh, you obviously do a lot of exercise. And I said, okay. I wasn't going to argue with that. She said, because you got the bones of a 20-year-old. And I think I was probably 50-something at the time. So I do believe that it's because I have always had cheese and enjoyed it. And I also drink milk. And I understand that some people don't think that's good for you, but I don't look too bad. And Jody, I know that you've been concerned about, I didn't know that watermelon spiked your blood sugar the way that it does. And so I suddenly found out that I was having this watermelon yesterday, thinking I was doing a good thing eating fruit. And my blood sugar spiked up to 8 in Canadian. So Jody will probably let me know what that is in American. And, you know, it was still there this morning. Guess why? Because I took a late night snack of watermelon. I'm a slow learner. So now what I'm going to be doing is freezing what I have left. Yeah, it spikes you to the sky. Well, pity I didn't know that before. I do now. Learning moment. But you'll be pleased to hear, Jody, I took my blood sugar before I did the broadcast, and it was down to 6.1, I think. So we're good. My body eventually coped with it all. Yeah, I can definitely feel this is beginning to warm up. Boy. So it's a Zen thing. Now, obviously, I could have it on my stove and heat it much more quickly, but everything I read about this was the more slowly you do it, that, you know, in other words, the more patient you are in the making of it, the creamier and the better it becomes. Did you also read that, Jody? So we're just going to keep being patient and do. Hi, Nyasha. Nyasha, I was just showing them the yogurt cheese. Are you ready to see how it's done? Because I'll quickly talk you through it while I'm doing this thing. She was asking me about it again at lunchtime. Okay, so Nyasha, the first thing is to take a funnel of some sort. And I put a coffee filter inside the funnel. And then I poured Greek yogurt into, can you see it? And then it's just in a glass. And as you can see, the liquid is dropping out of the yogurt. And if you leave it for a couple of days, you're going to end up with this. Hi, Kimmy, good to see you. So it's pretty simple. That's all you do. And I just had it in the fridge. I just leave it in the fridge. And I do cover it when it's in the fridge because I want it to stay moist. I don't want it to dry out. So I've got one of these silicone cover things. It saves on cling wrap or something. And that is literally what I do every couple of days. And then, after a couple of days, Nyasha, you literally have a cream cheese. Well, today we're doing a slightly different one. We're doing this with goat's milk, and you can do this with regular cow's milk. And the higher the fat content, I think, the better, if I'm correct on that. Mine came, you know my yogurt in a bag, Nyasha? For those of you who've never seen that, hold on a sec. This is what I did it with. And this is 100%, oh yeah. No artificial colors. It's actually a vanilla yogurt, 1.5% milk fat. So it's like a Greek yogurt, a creamy Greek yogurt. Yeah, I know that I just show people so they can smile about the fact that here in Canada, we actually allow you to buy yogurt in bulk, which I like, because anytime you buy in bulk, it's cheaper. So I actually thought it would warm up faster than this in here, but I'm not worried about it because, quite honestly, there we go. We're coming up nicely now. We're about 145 now. Oh, coming up to 150. So that's going very nicely. Let's see what the news is here. Beth is saying, hang on a second. Beth is saying, my daughter is buying her first house. I'm sad that it will be an hour away from me. Last year, the news would have put me into depression. This year, I'm happy for her success. It's a weird feeling. Yeah, they're flying the nest. It's very difficult, Beth, but well done. Timmy's saying her refrigerator went out. I have to get another. You know, it's interesting. Jody has been without an oven for 3 or 4 months. So, yeah, so Kimmy's saying I'm going to have to slow down on the cooking and baking for a few days. But the good news is you are able to get another one. That's the important thing, right? Okay, so we're up to 150. We're getting there. Now then, let's just see what we have to do when we get there. What it says is when you reach 180 Fahrenheit, stir frequently to ensure even heat distribution. But once you get to 180, remove from the heat immediately. I'm just looking to make sure I've got something I can lift this out of the pot with. And then we're going to add the vinegar. No, first we're going to add the lemon juice. Okay, so it's a little bit of an advance on watching paint dry, but we're getting there. We hit 150. Hit more than 150, hit 160. 70. So exciting, so. Any minute now, people. There we go, 180. So what we're going to do, it says to take it off the heat. So I'm just going to lift this out. There we go. So remove from the heat immediately and add the lemon juice. Okay? Are you ready, people? Ah, so exciting. So I've got 1/3 of a cup of lemon juice here. Okay? So add the lemon juice and stir a couple of times until combined. Oh, I can do that. Everybody, can you all do that? Not too difficult. And then add the vinegar. This is 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, just regular vinegar. Pour that in. And stir briefly until combined, and then allow it to sit for 30 minutes. All right, we think it's combined. There we go. I'll put all this away. We can disconnect the heat source. We don't need that anymore. Now, it didn't say covered or not covered. I think if it were covered, it would stay hot longer, right? So now what it warns you about, it's going to end up with little curds as the milk separates away from the whey, as they call it, which is this stuff. Okay. And so we're going to end up with little bits of cheese floating at the top, the curds. Not to be confused with the Turks. So what we're looking for is patience. And you all know I don't do that well. However, I definitely recommend the yogurt cheese. Now, the nip stick. You've never had cream cheese, Nyasha? Do you like yogurt? Yeah. If you like yogurt, I really recommend. This is so easy to make and so tasty. And by the way, I made the first lot I covered with cinnamon and cranberries. It was really tasty. The second lot I made, I put in fig jelly. So if you like the taste of yogurt, you're going to love this, right? And it comes out about that thick. So, did we set a timer? No. What's the time? The time is 7:37. So about 8 o'clock, we're going to be ready to do the next thing. So in the meantime, I promised I would show you my, I not only make my daily bread, which by the way, is busy here in my cloche. And this is my daily bread busy fermenting here. By the way, Dougie went home with 1 small loaf to eat tonight and another frozen one to take with him on his vacation. So he was very happy camper. And I also made a little herb garden for him. You know, I had one thing of basil, a couple of things of spring onion. I had some mint, because he likes mint. And what else did I have in there? Oh, parsley. And I put it all in a mug, you know, so and made sure that, and I also gave him some fertilizer so that he could make the fertilizer, because I did it hydroponically so that he could take that with us. So to me, Kimmy, what Jody is saying, that she's got a secondhand one coming. So it's new to her, not a new oven, but new to her, if that makes sense, right? All right, so let's move on to the next thing. How many of you make your own soup? And again, one of the things that we know is that when times get tough, it's a really good idea to make soup. And I just want to show you that all I do, and it's really simple, is, as you know, I cook my meat. I will buy a roast, cook the meat, and then put it in individual serving sizes in my freezer. And the reason for that is I can then choose how many people are going to be eating and bring out that many servings. Now, this is one serving size for me. And so I'm going to be adding that meat into the soup. And I've got some leftover bits, and I've got some frozen bits of food, and some stuff that's been in the freezer. So all I'm going to do is put in, I would say 2 or 3 cups of water. And you can adjust this as you need to. So let me bring that down a bit. I'm going to get a cutting board going here. I'm beginning to run out of space. Who thought that would happen? All right, so Sal with a knife is dangerous. Here we go. And it's 7:37. It's still there, yes. Yes, but the reason it's dark where you are, Yasha, is because you're in a different part of the world, all right? This is summer for us, so we will start now. Sunset will be in about an hour now, maybe a bit more. All right, so here we go. So all I'm going to do, very simply, and it is very simply, is I'm going to put in a couple of grape tomatoes. I'm just going to cut them in half. Now, some of you probably don't like eating tomato skins, in which case put them in some hot water first, and then the skins will pop off. But I don't mind the skins. I think the skins are healthy. Jody will probably tell me if I'm right. So that's all. I'm just going to start with some of those. I'm then going to take some celery and just chop that up finely. Well, not too finely, but chop it up anyway. And celery, I know, is really good for a lot of reasons in your diet. I've got some orange pepper. So I'm just going to chop that up. And we'll put that in. Very easy. We'll take some of that pork that I had and just, pretty small slices if you can. And the pork is going to help give it some of the flavor and also obviously add the protein that we need in our diet. So there we go. That's literally just chopped it up like that. Now then. I don't like to work too hard, so I've got an old carrot here, and what I'm going to do is just take the outside off, like that. Now, I've got a choice. I can either chop up this carrot, but I don't know if any of you do this, but I found that just actually using your potato peeler and just putting some slices in like this works really well. Saves a lot of work. And carrot, obviously very good for us in terms of beta carotene and so forth. So put in some carrot, that's good. Now I've got some sweet potato here, so I'm just going to peel that off a bit. Also getting a little bit past its prime, so it's time to use it up as best I can. And what better way than in a soup? So now that's the starchy element in the soup, but I'm also going to add some other starches that I'll show you in a second. Okay, so I'm going to take the end off because that's a bit sort of dried now. I could actually keep the end, quite honestly, if I really wanted to save money, because just cooking it will rehydrate it. So I'm just going to cut that into fairly small slices. Put that in. Okay, we're good. Put this to the compost. Okay. What else have we got here? I've got some frozen onion. By the way, when I buy onion, I cut it all up and freeze it and then bring it out as I need it. And so now all I'm going to do here is just cut this up. Onion just gives any soup a great taste, I think. Okay. So slices about this big. Now, I also love Leeks. And for those of you who don't know Leeks, oh, this isn't Leek. Okay, so I will get some Leeks in a second. This is the end of some broccoli that I, instead of throwing it away, I kept it. And I keep certain things like that just so that I can add it to my soup. And I think that's all that I've got here. Now then, where did I put the Leeks? There we go. Okay, so I just love Leeks as a taste. They're very much like an onion, but I just love the taste and color of them. And you know, Leeks, if you get the end that's above the ground, it's very dark, great for stir fries and stuff. But the bottom part is nice and yellowy, or white, in fact. So there we go. We now have the makings of a pretty nice soup. Now, I just am inclined to let that cook quietly for probably most of the day. And I will only start putting seasonings in it once all the vegetables have cooked. And the reason I do that, hi Kez, the reason I do that is because I want the vegetables to give me the taste, and then I will top up the taste with seasonings. And we all have different things that we like to do in terms of seasoning, but my basic go-to to season this sort of thing is I just use Marmite. If any of you know Marmite, it's a British thing, but it's a really good way to add really great flavor to soups and gravies and stuff, or to have it on toast if you grew up with it. Apparently, if you haven't grown up with it, it's not a good thing to have it on toast. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that you either grew up eating it on toast or you didn't. And if you didn't, yuck. But if you did, it's like, wow, Marmite on toast. Yes. It's a comfort food. So the reason I wanted to show you how simple that was is because what I do is I probably make 2 of those a week. And what will happen normally, I will make it in the morning and I will cook it all day long. And if I feel hungry, I will take a big spoon of soup, a ladle of soup, of the liquid. I will just grab a big ladle of soup and put it in a mug and drink that. And now I've got the goodness of the broth, and it fills me up so that I'm not eating other stuff. You're right, Kez. I use a peeler to slice hard vegetables and fruit also. Hard cheese would be great for people who have troubles cutting veggies, who have arthritis, which of course I do. What does it taste like, the soup? Well, it's a case of what do you put in it next? You know, it's up to you. Now, the other thing I put in mine, just so you know, that while it's cooking, I will put in about a tablespoon or two. Let me show you about this much pearl barley. Gives it a really nice nutty taste. And I also like to put in a few lentils. So the lentils, these are lentils. And I will just put in about half the amount of lentils to the amount of pearl barley that I put in. And here's the thing. You can actually use this as a base for gravies or anything else. You know, you just take the broth and use that during the week. I actually cook it through and then I will put it into the fridge. The stuff in the jar, which jar? The white, hang on a second. This jar or this one? Oh, Marmite. Okay, yes. Marmite's very important in my life. All right, so one of the things that you will find out is adding these sort of starches. Jody will let us know, but I believe, Jody, that even though these are starches, right, pearl barley and lentils, they are what I call healthier starches. Am I correct in that? I hope so. I've been kidding myself, if not. I'm just going to put these back in the fridge. Yeah, there we go. That was a nice idea when you thought of it, Sal, but Jenga problems here, as Jody would say. Okay. Maybe, maybe not. So what I will do, I have to go back and look at that again. I will make up the soup and then put it into containers like this. Marmite is very salty, yes, and that's why I don't add any seasonings until after the vegetables have cooked and everything, and then I will just put in a little bit of Marmite to bring it up to the taste that I want. So, and this is what it ends up looking like, just so you can see. And I will just, use it during the week. So if you didn't use Marmite, what would you use? What would you flavor your soups with? Yes, Jody, I thought I was right on that. Pearl barley is only 22 on the glycemic index, which means it's very low. So if you're going to have, what is a sweet potato? Because I hacked some of that in. And by the way, I like the orange sweet potatoes. We're nearly ready to have a look at our cheese thing. So as far as I know, any of these things like pearl barley or lentils are all good, healthy things to add to your soups because they give you a bit of bulk, but they're also not bad for you. And I will normally have this much soup every day. Yes, you would use Vegemite instead of Marmite because very similar, but you find Marmite a little more salty than Vegemite, so I just use a little bit less. So this is, I look at it, which is just make a plan, whatever you would use. I'm just going to spend a second, people, because the Jenga thing didn't work quite as well as I needed it to in my fridge. So I need to make plan B. And Maybe it's plan C. Or maybe I'll just leave these out until I can deal with it. And the other thing I was going to show you before we carry on with the cheese experiment is I really recommend it still doesn't want to close. Okay. We'll deal with it later. The other thing I do is during the week, I make Scotch eggs. And this is just boiled egg. All right, so hang on a second. Sweet potato, when boiled for 30 minutes, has a glycemic index of 46. When boiled for 8 minutes, it shoots up to 60. No, it will literally be there for 12 hours. So that's what I thought. It lowers the glycemic index. All right, so these are hard-boiled eggs, which are then surrounded. First you boil the egg. Then you surround the egg with pork, minced pork. I did these on the barbecue. Very healthy bites. And I coated them. This is called Waste Not, Want Not. I coated them in sourdough breadcrumbs. And there we have a really nice protein bite. And I just leave them in the fridge. I really shouldn't cook online, sure. We're nearly there. These bits out of the way. And on to the next step. Well, it's not too late to eat here because it's only 7 o'clock and I haven't eaten all day, so you will understand. Okay, so here we go. This said leave it for half an hour. Now, what it says is the curds are going to be very small. So I'm hoping that we can catch them in this sieve. So that's what I'm going to try. Now that failed miserably, people. I think I was meant to add salt somewhere. Maybe not now. Because I'm not seeing that this really... Oh, yeah, maybe, people. Maybe I was not being fair. It just dropped a bit. Okay. Let me see if I can do this in a different way. You see, it's just little bits there. Now, I must admit, I thought it would be a little bit more exciting than that. So part of me says, I think I'm just going to spoon this into here. Okay, this is the first thing that hasn't gone quite to plan, but that's how we learn things, right, people? Right. So what I'm going to do is actually just take this and pour it into the nut bag, which will be a different process. But I think it should work. That's what experiments are for, Sal. So all we're doing now is straining away the liquid. Can you see the liquid at the bottom there? Oh, no, too high. So it's the same idea as this. And in fact, that probably would work just as well if I did it that way. Put some more in there. And then I'm going to lift it. Because what it said is it's not a bad idea to put it like this. See if I can undo this string here. Yep, I can. And then what it said to do is to hang it over the faucet in the sink. So I've got room to put some more in there. I'm getting excited again now. That little kid in me loves doing this sort of stuff, you know that. Okay, so there we go. Now we're going to take it over to the sink. Apparently I got a bit of a hole in my nut bag. And what it said is to literally hang the bag over the sink and let it drip. I've made such a mess of this string, people. Just bear with me a second. That's not quite what I wanted to do, but I think it might work anyway. So what it says is you just hang it over your sink. Now, if it all drains out and we end up with an empty bag, I guess you can't see that, right? But I just hung it over the faucet. Now, it's now draining away. Now, the question is, will we have any cheese left at the end of it? I have no idea. But we will find out. Yes, they did warn that the curds would be very small. And I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to put in some coffee filters, just for some added strain. Yeah, maybe it needs even more than that. Actually, no, that seems to be holding quite well. Surprise, surprise. But I'm still going to do plan B here. I'm taking a coffee filter or two and putting them, actually just one. And then I'm going to put the rest of this in here. And do this. I'm going to put another coffee filter in there. Just let that drop down a bit. All experimentation. You see, the whole thing that I found out about life is if you're not prepared to do it wrong, you probably will never do it. So to me, it's about let me try it and see what works and what doesn't, and then I will keep trying it until I've worked out how it works for me. Okay, so that's holding pretty well. Liking that so far, people. Okay, I'm going to put another coffee filter in there and another layer. That side. Oh, that didn't work at all well. So let's do it again. And so now what I've got is sort of multiple layers of coffee filters here, just to see what a difference it makes, if any, in the quality of the the final product. Okay, so let's pour this in here. Done. And now we're going to hang this on the faucet as well. Pray the faucet doesn't break. I must admit that I have never regretted buying these nut bags. If you don't have any in your life. Okay, so you see how much it starts running. And then this one is still running, but just literally dropping. I wonder if you can still see me here. Okay, so there we go. So exciting. How difficult was that? Good night, Jeannie. Seriously, how difficult was that? Now, how long do we have to leave it like that for? Allow it to hang and drip for about an hour. So do you think you could do that, people? Right? Yeah, you know, the whole thing the reason I'm showing you these things is this is all part of, when you actually make things from scratch, you know what's in them. I hope that Jody will back me up on that one and tell me I'm correct on that. And because there are no artificial things in here, it's far healthier for you and far less likely to be a major problem. We haven't added anything. Actually, I must admit that the yogurt I had was flavored yogurt. It's vanilla flavored yogurt, only because that's all I had in the house when I thought I would try that. Yeah. Well, yeah, sure. I will take pictures of it when it's done. So if you need to go, don't worry about it. I will, if I remember, and if I don't eat it first. Kimmy, goat's milk is at your local grocery store. So, no mystery preservatives, and you get to make as much as you need. You know, it's a bit like baking your own bread. By the way, I really don't like this. No. So good. Well, any questions? So this second one is down to dripping little bit. I'll show you that. See that? Oh, just because I moved it, but it was down to just drip. See that? And this one, again, because I moved it, just so you can see how far they've come. Now, I would presume, and I'm not a cheese maker, but I would presume the longer I let it drip, the harder the cheese will be. Would that be fair? I don't know if I've got anybody online that is a cheese maker, but I'd really love to know, because as you know, I've never done this before. It's all brand new to me. But how many of you are going, that was actually easier than I thought it would be? And what I liked about it was I ordered up the goat's milk with my regular grocery order. And I thought, hey, even if it doesn't work, it's definitely worth trying. Now, obviously, I now know what to do with my cow's milk if I find that I haven't used it all up by the time my next order comes in. How many of you are going, yeah, because why would I not do that with my leftover milk? What do you think? Pretty exciting stuff, right? So nothing very weird. It was goat milk, white vinegar, lime juice. Oh, I meant to put in some salt. How much salt? Half a teaspoon of salt. I think that's for taste. Yeah, Jody's saying the same thing, that the more of the whey, this liquid stuff at the bottom here, the more of that stuff that you drip out, the firmer it becomes. Okay, so Kimmy's saying, we used to do this at the farm when I was a kid. Yes, and that's what I'm saying, that we will probably do it again. Because the only thing that you would need is the milk. So that's pretty good. So how many of you are going, that actually was easier than I thought it would be? Anybody? Now, making stuff like cheddar cheese and stuff like that, that's a whole different ballgame and requires a whole different set of skills that I'm not sure I'm ready for yet. But I will continue to research it and see if I can find an easy way of doing it. Yes, Sharon's asking, do I save the liquid? Sharon, you know me well. I put that liquid into my bread. So that's what I do with it. So tomorrow's bread will have this in it. Now, all that stuff that's dripping out there, I would probably make smaller batches now that I know how it's done. I would just make smaller batches and use the runoff the same way. Probably one day make the yogurt one, and then one day make the goat milk or whole milk one. And Jody's saying, I can't believe I've never tried this. Yeah, and Jody, I know that you've got nut bags, right? So that's the trick. Either you need 2 or 3 layers of cheesecloth, but if you've got a nut bag, it does the same thing and better, I think. So time now is... So it should be ready for checking, I would think, just before we finish the broadcast. Yeah. You got to admit, people, that's not rocket science. If Sal can do it, anybody can do it. I think I can get rid of my bangs now. Not bangs, my, what do you call them? Pigtails. I just didn't want to get that all in the cheese. Okay. So I want to just talk a little bit about what it required to do that. Because, again, I want to talk to you a little bit about one of the things we find out when we hit challenges. For example, we don't have as much money as we used to, is that we need to cope with our minds. If you say, well, I can't eat that because I only eat cheddar or brie or whatever, my attitude is, if I could only have that for cheese, I'd be happy. The only thing I would need to do, and that's my next quest, by the way, is to find a local farmer. And as I think some of you know, I'm in a fairly rural area here, so I don't think I'm going to have to go far to find a farmer with cows and milk and start having that relationship with the farmer. So if things got bad, that I could get milk fairly easily, raw milk. Yum. So you understand that part of the thing about dealing with hard times, if they come, is to be able to adjust your mind. Now, some of you have already done that. And I say that because some of you hit medical problems and had to change your mind about things. Am I correct? And I just want to not be staring at the mess in my kitchen the whole time. And so to me, it's like, we do have to make adjustments through one reason or the other. And what I would say to all of you is be aware that you may need to be a whole lot more flexible in the coming months. I was talking to Doug today, and one of the things we were discussing was that, it is very possible that, President Trump will win again. And, we were talking about what that would do to Canada, how that would change our lives, and that is important. Just need a bit more light over here. Just bear with me a second, people. That's going to affect our lives quite dramatically if that happens. And so to me, quite honestly, it's like, what if? And where are things going to get affected? I thought about that terrible thing we saw in the headlines last week, which was that by the end of September, 28 million people in the States are going to be homeless because they're going to get evicted. So, you look at that and you're going, I am pretty certain somebody who's homeless, if you bought them some homemade bread and some goat milk cheese, they'd probably think they died and went to heaven. And yeah, Jody's saying, take them some of the fresh baked honey oat bread with flaxseed. And, you can get all the milk you need. I think that's the whole thing. I think the whole art of bartering is going to be coming back. How many of you know what bartering is? And I don't mean to belittle anybody by asking that question, but, a lot of people have never heard of it. And so it is just a case of Jody says that, I take my homemade bread and exchange it for some raw milk. You get the bread, I get the milk. And that is how money started in the first place. That's how we did it, right? People didn't have coins originally. It was just, I will trade you my coat for 3 bags of oats or something. And that is how it all went down. And so I think, if things get really tough, it could happen again. So I want to ask you, when you heard we're going to be making cheese, how many of you thought that was quite exciting? And went, oh, I've never done that. I'd like to see that done. And like Jody, how many of you, when you saw how simple it was, wondered why you'd never tried it? And one of the things that I do know is that when I thought about doing it, and especially doing it live, I thought, I have no idea how to do it. I wasn't sure whether I could do it, quite honestly. And really, how many people have got the time? Well, I think you'll agree that we've probably got more time today in some ways than we've had before. So time wasn't the issue. And I do know that if I could make my own cheese, I would have money available to do other things. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm looking for all the time, is to help you see that if I did this, and Jody, I'm not sure how much weight we get out of this in terms of cheese. Did we find that out? Do we know? From a quart of goat's milk, how much cheese should we get roughly? I'm looking at it's a bit more than I thought. I would think, quite honestly, Jody, that's quite a lot of weight in there. I mean, I know we've still got quite a bit of liquid to run off, but that's more than I expected, quite honestly. I would say that we should end up with probably 2 packs. All right, so you're saying that out of a quart, we should get half a cup to a cup of cheese? I think it's more. Quite honestly, I can't tell you for sure until the liquid is drained. But, to me, How much did I pay for the goat milk? I think about $4 in Canada. I've got a feeling. Did I make a note of that somewhere? No, I forgot to do that. But I think it was about $4, maybe tops was $5 for that much. It depends on the curd size. So the smaller the curds, the more, or the larger the curds? Because I've obviously got micro curds in there. Because it went through, they went through this sieve. I did not expect them to be smaller than that sieve, I must admit. So now I know what I need next, right? A ladle that I can catch them with that's smaller than that one. But the nut bag appears to be working really well, so I'm happy. The smaller the curd, the better. Okay, that's why I think we're going to end up with more. All right, so was there any stress in making this? With curds, cheese, a really nice poutine. Now, for those of you who are not Canadian, you do know that I am a poutine addict in some ways. In the 7 months that I've lived here, I think I had poutine once. And when I heard that Yvonne was coming round about lunchtime tomorrow, guess what I said to her? Bring poutine, right? If you want to make me happy for my birthday, bring poutine. And we know my birthday is not until Sunday, but we're going to celebrate it tomorrow with Yvonne. And so they're bringing me poutine. And yes, so very simple. All that poutine is fries, baked if you want to be healthier. Just, rub them in a little oil and then bake them. But fries topped with cheese curds, which is what we're dealing with now, and then really tasty gravy on top, by the way, with a lot of salt in it, seeing as somebody mentioned the salt bit. So coping with stress. Is there stress in trying something new like this? Right? Because we're talking all the time about coping with our minds and coping with reality. Is there some level of stress, especially if you're stupid enough to do it live? Is there some level of stress attached to trying something new like this? Absolutely. So the first thing that I do when I thought about doing this is how much you guys would be amused if it totally didn't work. I had a feeling that you guys would just go, well, at least she tried. I didn't think you would see me as some sort of loser if it didn't work. Was I correct in that? Oh, gosh, I hope so. But I also thought you guys would understand that it's important to get out of your comfort zone. Yeah, that's what Jody said, right? You stepped out of your comfort zone and into a new experience and therefore a skill. And Kez is saying, yes, stuffing it up and wasting money. Yeah, yes. Oh, that would be your thing. What if I totally messed it up and wasted all that money? Well, it was $5. I already had the vinegar. I already had the lemon juice. I already had the nut bags. So what else? I haven't bothered with the salt yet. So $5. Question, Kez, was it worth $5 to find out if it worked? See, that's the whole thing. And it's a bit like the soup, all right? I actually have replaced a lot of food during the week with just eating healthy broth with, and vegetables. If I actually need to eat anything, I just eat the vegetables. And then I have one meal in the evening. And other than the fact that this is birthday week and I've had things like birthday cake, which my neighbor baked for me, starting next week, I will try to get back to where I was because, I've already packed on some pounds. Right, kids. You see, and that's another thing I always look at. How much fun might it be? And how many of you could hear the little kid in me was so excited when it actually started? When it actually looked like it might work. And they were just like, oh, really? That's going to be such fun. Good point, Isabel. Isabel's saying if you make poutine with root vegetables, i.e., you use turnips or rutabaga or even carrots, right? You could make carrot fries. Or what about yams? Sweet potato? Yeah, I think it's all possible to do, right? Just carbs. How many of you also know that everything's easy to do once you know how to do it? Right? So how many of you know if I did this a second time, would it be easier? What do you think? Zucchini fries, yeah. What about tempura zucchini? That's one thing I wanted to try as well, is making tempura. So do you think it was worth $5 to do the experiment? Even if it had failed? First of all, did it bring some level of entertainment into your lives? I hope so. Secondly, did any of you along the way actually think, wow, that isn't too difficult? Maybe I could do that. So to me, it was a pretty interesting experiment for me to do. However, is there chaos in my kitchen? Absolutely. But I've got until 2:00 tomorrow afternoon to get it tidied up. That's how I look at it. Before Yvonne arrives. And the chances are they won't come inside anyway. Right. And Kimmy's saying sometimes food comes out good and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, that's all of us, Kimmy, not just you. So you see, if you look at it, if you don't try to do things, you will never succeed. And I can remember my husband saying to me once, well, I wonder if you could go and fix the VCR. Remember the VCR days? I wonder if you could go and fix the VCR because I don't know how to do that. And I looked at him, as you know I can, and said, guess how I learned to do the VCR? I went over to it and started pressing buttons. Why don't you do the same thing? It's just like, really? Do you think I went to some sort of university course to learn how to program the VCR? No, I kept playing with it until it worked. Sure, you're so right. Yeah, Chip, I remember him phoning me long distance overseas once and asked me a question like that. And I said, really? Go try it. Sharon's saying, and when has not knowing ever stopped you? Never, she said. Kez is saying, I'm a visual person, so I needed to see someone do it for me to visualize the process and get the result. I get really confused and stressed out thinking that in my head. Kez, I love you. Because that is exactly what I thought. You can read the instructions. And by the way, Kez, I discounted a whole lot of recipes until I found one that didn't need special stuff that you had to order from the store or anything, that just used what I already had, except for the goat milk. I didn't have that. I didn't want one that you had to buy special stuff for. And then I went, you know something? Doesn't sound that difficult. All right, so Jody's saying the first time I baked an angel food cake, it wouldn't release from the pan. I had some very angelic things to say about it, I'm afraid. I want to tell you, I have yet to make an angel food cake that works. Yeah. And so Kimmy's saying, yes, she knows that it's everybody, that some things turn out well and some don't. I've got frozen angel food cake that I now suddenly want. Isn't that funny? When I brought it home, I cut it up into slices and put it in my freezer. Okay, so are we on time? I still think it needs quite a bit of time. Yeah. See there, it's still got quite a bit of liquid. Now, obviously, now it didn't say play with it in the instructions, did it? I can hear some of you going, so I'll leave it alone. So we're probably going to leave it Yeah, this is still pretty liquid in here. Yep. So my sense is two things. Number one, it will probably take another hour to drip. And even then, I don't know if anything will be left. But was it fun? It was for me. So, in order to do this, think about this. What did I have to overcome? What is it I had to overcome in order to be able to do this live? You know, we had quite a conversation today at lunchtime about guilt and shame and how to overcome it. But what I wanted to see is, do you understand that the whole idea of doing that and doing it live was pretty terrifying, except I know you guys. Yeah, Jody's saying fear, my expectations of myself and my pride, you know. What if we end up that nothing stays in the bag? Will it be worth doing the experiment? You know, how many of you know I will just have a mentality that kicks in. I think Jody knows exactly what I'm talking about, because if that doesn't end up with some cheese in it at the end, you know what I'm going to be doing for the next month, don't you? I will carry on making cheese until I can do it. No, I don't think it'll be perfect ever. You know, I'm not into perfect. Well, there's some people that say the bread's getting pretty close, but you know. Yeah, so Jody says, but you are so very relatable, right? Success or not, and you will keep trying again. Yeah, I will keep trying until I get it right. Or right enough that I can enjoy it and save money by doing it. But most of all, remember why I wanted to do it. What if I couldn't get cheese anymore? Right? Could I make my own? That's the only thing I want to know. I might never do it full time, but on the other hand, what if I can do it? And what if I can do it with my leftover milk and therefore save money? Because at the moment, if the milk starts to, you know, get close to going off, what do we do with it? We throw it away. And so now I'm thinking, can I make cheese out of it? Can you make sour milk cheese, people? You know, that's oh, interesting. Jody's saying, I'm wondering if it needs fresh lemon juice. Well, it did separate, sort of. So again, you could be right on that. Yeah, the recipe didn't say, right? Just said lemon juice. So how do we find out, Jody? We do a second batch and try. I'll do some with some regular milk and put some fresh lemon. I've got some fresh lemons here. So I'll just do a small batch with some fresh lemon. I'll be able to tell you. And maybe it just needs more time to what? Drip? Separate? It was pretty specific about how long to leave it. Add the vinegar, stir briefly until it allowed to sit for about 30 minutes. So we did all that right. So I'm just, you know, literally, I am just on a mission now. And the other thing is, you know, what if I start making little batches like this in funnels? You know, to me, it's like, that would be nice. And so I look at it and go, my whole reason for doing these experiments is what if I had to? Could I? And by the way, what if nobody in my community could buy cheese? Could I make cheese for them? This isn't cow's milk. This was goat's milk. I believe that you can make this sort of cheese. I believe you can make it from any sort of milk. And so if you are intolerant of cow's milk, that would be worth looking into. Yeah, so this is goat's milk. I use goat's milk, not cow's milk, okay? So Jodie's saying, I made homemade buttermilk with lemon and vinegar, and it was a bear. It didn't want to curdle. Yeah, I think this did curdle, but just not as much as I expected it to. I expected it to separate pretty heavily. But if I look at this, what if I just use this method to strain it? Would it be, just as successful? And that would be my next experiment, right? So what I will do later after the broadcast is I will look at this and probably transfer it into a couple of funnels or something and just see what happens, how much actually drips away. How about that one? Thank you, Beth. You're still there. Beth's saying Dollar General takes back the expired milk and makes cottage cheese and ships it back to us. So you're telling me that the milk I have in the fridge that's about to go, I can make cottage cheese out of it? I've never done that either. How do you make cottage cheese? That can't be that difficult then. Oh, I'll be doing that this week, but not necessarily on a broadcast, but I will talk about it for those who are interested. Just like, yeah. You see, and to me, I would never have thought of that. Now, do I like cottage cheese? Not particularly, but hey, if I can stop throwing milk down the sink because it's about to turn and know that I can make cottage cheese out of it. Any idea how to do it, Beth? I think it's exciting. We can do this, people. All right. And again, this is about let's not waste things. Let's find another way to use them. You get a milk truck once a week, really. Okay, so I will look into that and see how difficult that is, and I will try it and hopefully do a demonstration for you. So if you can understand that, like all things, I don't expect it to work well the first time. Right? I don't have my ego attached to the perfect outcome here. But do I give myself bonus points for trying? All right. Do you think there's part of me that goes, you'll never guess what I tried this week? I tried to make goat cheese. And, it happens to be, okay, just milk, vinegar, and salt for homemade cottage cheese. Well, we know I've got all of those things. So that's what I will be doing. I'll be making some cottage cheese, and that will be very tasty because I will learn to like it. So I challenge you all to think about, and by the way, if any of you have found ways to do things, that saves you money like this, please let us know so that I can share it with people, because I think people are going to want to know. They're going to go back to the old ways of doing things. They're going to go back to not wasting as much. How many of you know how much food do we waste? We probably waste enough food in our households to feed a third world country. All right? I think it's horrific. Cottage cheese, you can add it to your smoothies. I didn't know that. as a protein punch. It blends in very well. Yes, obviously, I had to overcome my fear of failure to do this. And, the only thing that helped me with that was I was pretty certain you guys would laugh if it failed completely. That, it would turn it into a smile rather than a failure. You guys would go, well, that didn't work too well, but it was fun. So what I'm challenging you is, what is it that you're not doing for fear of failure? Because I know that a year from now, how many of you know I'm going to be making some pretty good cheese about a year from now? And by the way, for those of you who have watched Tommy the Tomato grow, I need to tell you, where's my phone? Where is my phone? Hang on. Hang on 1 second. I've got to find my phone. No idea what it is. So it can't be very far. I'm just going to show you. Hold on, people. Now, I say this because some of you have been watching this go down, and at last we've got hot enough weather. Oh, first of all, did you all see that I actually, those strawberries tasted magnificent? Okay? And that's what I wanted to show you. And why wouldn't I show you that? And then, here we go. Tommy the Tomato's first tomato is starting. All right, so Sandy, I'd like you to tell me, oh, I don't have an Instapot, so I'm pretty sure I can do it with something else. And so I will look into that as well. So if anybody would like me to show you how to make yogurt, let me know and I'll add it to the list. And obviously, if you can make yogurt, then you can make the yogurt cheese, and that makes a lot of sense to me. Jody, those two strawberries, I had them in a salad, and it wasn't just that they looked magnificent, which they did, of course, but I don't know if you can imagine how they tasted. They did not taste the same as a strawberry you buy in the store at all. I've got a crock pot. I can make yogurt in a... Oh, this is so exciting. This is so exciting. So now I can make cottage cheese and yogurt this week, right? Very exciting. So I look at it all and go, let us not think about what we can't do if times get really tough. The other thing is this. I was talking... All right, so Kez also is saying, I just looked at what you can make with cottage cheese, and a few mentioned pancakes and muffins. Yes, and look what Beth said, cottage cheese and peaches are amazing. Yes, I can imagine that. Pretty sure it goes down well with watermelon as well. Might even out the spikes of it. So this is all about, I could learn to like this. Bernice was talking this week about the fact that she's now confirmed as a diabetic. And so one of the things I said to her is, you're going to make some changes, but you're going to learn a lot, all right? And I must admit, I'm over a year into being pre-diabetic and pretty much holding my own at that level. And I have learned so much, not all of it perfect. Jody's saying, I love cottage cheese with applesauce sprinkled with cinnamon. That sounds good to me. The other thing I wanted to, yeah, definitely, Isabel, let's do that, right? The other thing I wanted to let you know is, how many of you do save breadcrumbs? How many of you make breadcrumbs? And how many of you save them? You want to know what I do with mine? it was one of the things that was so funny. You know, when I think about the comfort food I grew up on, one of them was something called Queen's pudding. Has anybody ever heard of that? And basically, what Queen's pudding is a I just take some breadcrumbs and an egg and a little bit of milk and mix it all up, and then I put that into. That's what people do. So that's going really nicely. I'm going to turn that down now and let it just simmer. Okay. All right, so then what I do is I make that mixture of breadcrumbs, egg, and a little bit of milk. And by the way, add a bit of cinnamon to it or nutmeg or something like that. And then I will put in about this much in my big ramekins here. And I'll do 4 at a time or whatever. And then I let that set up. And then I will put fruit over the top of that, either frozen or fresh, depending what I've got. And then a squidge of cream on top of that. Or English custard if I'm really feeling decadent. So, you know, it's like we never wasted breadcrumbs in my house. And I lived in a house that, you know, was pretty well off. A poor man's Downton Abbey. But we never wasted breadcrumbs. So, and how many of you can remember eating food with breadcrumbs around it? Salisbury steaks and things like that. So again, I think people will learn to re-like those sort of things. And these breadcrumbs come from sourdough, multi-grain sourdough. It can't be that bad. True? So what I found is it makes me a really nice dessert. And I have this dessert almost every other day, something like this. And then the other days I will have something like mini wheats as dessert, because mini wheats with a little bit of milk gives me that sweet taste and it feels like dessert to me. And one of the things that I want to encourage everybody to know is that you can change if you really want to. It's doable if you really want to. The other part of you is that part that says, I choose not to. I remember, hang on, I just want to show you something. Just hold it. I remember in the spring, just before we went into lockdown, standing behind a guy that saw me pick up some seeds and said, what are you going to do, grow your own food? I said, actually, yes, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And he said, I'll die before I do that. And I thought, you know, you might say that now, but I wonder if you will. How many of you know that I have really struggled for some reason to grow lettuce? They're growing. It's lettuce. And so this winter, I'm going to have lettuce growing in my living room, not flowers. Makes sense. I'm going to have, what do you call them? Multi-greens? No, microgreens growing. That's what I've decided. I'm going to grow microgreens in my house, not flowers that I would normally have. And by the way, my gardening binder is getting thicker all the time. And these are different varieties of lettuce that I'm learning to grow. I've got peas and pumpkins and green beans and zucchini, cucumber and carrots. I've got all sorts of different sorts of tomatoes. I've got onions, beans, carrots there. What have I got here? I've got chard, bell peppers that I've harvested from my bell peppers that I've had in the house. Beans again. Oh, I've just recently added kale and romaine lettuce. Oh, that should go in the lettuce section. Here I've got cantaloupe that I've harvested from cantaloupes that came into the house. I've also got spaghetti squash, radishes, lots of bell peppers, spaghetti squash again. And so I look at it and go, I am pretty sure that by this time next year, I got my planting calendar all ready, and I will have learned so much more. But how many of you know I had a difficult year of growing stuff for the slugs? The slugs loved what I was doing. All right, so Kez is saying, I got a new stove and oven this week. So later today or tomorrow, I'm going to turn my daily bread into croutons. And we could do a live, on what to do with slightly stale bread. Yes, and that's why I turn my slightly stale bread into breadcrumbs. And, the whole thing, though, Jody, is when I bought this place, I really thought I had no garden to worry about. I have to tell you, that was part of the thing. I don't have a garden. That's great. And what I found out is I have a big garden. That tiered bed that I've got? And by the way, my achievement for those of you who've been, all right, guys, what did I do with the phone? I know I had it because I showed you. Oh, there it is. And my achievement of this week, because I do get pleasure out of small things, was my dedication. I'll find it in a minute. It's here somewhere. Oh, I built a fall greenhouse. It's ready for the fall. And hold on. Just got to, oh, there we go. Oh, I thought I got one with this finished. Wait a minute. This is nearly finished. These steps, I have now painted the whole lot. I thought I got a picture of that when they're all painted. Maybe it's closer to the top. Yeah, there we go. So all my steps are now painted. Doesn't that look better? So you see how my garden is tiered, and it's 3 different levels. There's a level here, and then a top level. And so, all right, let me see here. You're finally starting your sourdough starter tomorrow morning. Awesome. You do know that to make your sourdough starter can take about a week to 2 weeks. You do know that, right? It is an ongoing process. But the good news is every day it's going to tell you to throw half of it out. Don't throw it out. Make a wrap out of it, right? Or make a little pancake thing out of it. And then the good news is if you keep doing it, I don't know what this will look like right now, but this is my dough ready for tomorrow's bread, right? And I want to tell you, when I took bread to the community get-together on Wednesday, I took one with a very crispy crust and one with a soft crust. I brought nothing home. I'm not joking. I didn't bring any bread home. It was gone. All right. So Sandy's saying that you watched all the videos. And what I can tell you, Sandy, is it's a bit like having babies, right? You can watch all the videos in the world, but until you've actually done it, you won't know what to do, right? Because what I think every single person will tell you is that that until you actually start making bread, you don't realize that bread is about feel to such a large extent. And this, for example, this dough that I've got going here, it doesn't have enough form to it yet. It actually needs to get fed again and get a bit stronger. And, you can only know that by practice, right? And so you remember the whole story about the elastic band. I really recommend the elastic band around so you can see, when I made this little bit of starter, I left it in. It was from yesterday's bread. I cut off a piece and used it as today's starter. And that's how much it has grown, just sitting on my countertop. Okay. And, it's amazing. Yeah. So, but you're going to have such fun with it, Sandy. And you probably will have some disasters with it too. It's not about that. It's about, at the end of the day, you are going to end up making, and by the way, my honey oat seed flax bread, multi-grain sourdough, I just started hacking, you know me, I started hacking things in there and I thought some honey would be good. Jody always tells me honey is actually good for you, so I should put some honey in there. Flaxseed, I know that's good for me, so I'll huck some of that in. And now I literally know how much of each to put in. And I end up with this incredible multi-grain sourdough that tastes so good. And everybody's saying that it's the best bread they've ever tasted. And, if I'd given up, Sandy, years ago, and say, I'm going to learn, I'm going to keep going until I make bread. It's taken me a long time. And it's not that I can't make bread. I wanted to make bread that I was proud of. And so now I'm there. And now, what I do is I freeze loaves. And when people come, I go, hey, take a loaf home. And one day when you want to treat yourself, you can just let it thaw. Because contrary to what most people think, you can freeze bread quite successfully. And if you're short of bread, it's always nice to bring a loaf out of the freezer and just let it sit on the countertop. And Jody's saying, if the border were not closed, I'd be going for Sal's honey oat bread. I've got neighbors that now say, that thing when we invite you over, don't bother to ask, can you bring anything? Just bring the bread. And so, but what if I hadn't tried? And how many of you know that soon it's going to be, and some of that cheese, I know that. Because even at the thing on Wednesday when I took a centerpiece thing, but it was so funny because even somebody that didn't know I made the bread was sitting next to me and said, something, there's something about homemade bread that just tastes so good, doesn't it? And I went, yeah, I think so. And they never did know that I made it. And so to me, it's like, not many people make bread. So I'm thinking, I already said to Dougie today, what are we doing for Thanksgiving? Right? Because he was on the phone with my new son. You remember my new son, James, that I met at Christmas time, who told me he was my new son. Well, he was on the phone with his wife. I said, when are we doing, I said, son, James, when are we doing Thanksgiving? Well, and he started to give me all the reasons why he couldn't do Thanksgiving. And I said, no, I don't mean on Thanksgiving Day or even Thanksgiving weekend. I just want to know, when are we, you, Doug, myself, and whoever else that comes, when are we doing Thanksgiving? Because we're going to do it. However we have to do it, wrapped up in blankets on the deck, I don't care. We are doing Thanksgiving in some way, and it doesn't have to be anywhere near Thanksgiving Day. Oh, Sandy's saying, I also made keto ice cream this week. Heavy cream and sweetener. Was it good? I still have to try the avocado ice cream. I haven't got my mind around that yet. But I must admit, bad as I am, I not only have angel food cake and Cool Whip topping that they made me for my birthday cake, but I also have ice cream in the freezer because it's my birthday week. And how many of you know I will eat an ice cream cone and a sugar cone at that? I will have one of those every day this week. And I will probably have the rest of the cake. It's my birthday week. And I know I'm due for an A1C, but that's going to have to wait for a while. Well, I want to tell you something that those ice cream popsicles that I made in the silicone molds with just the sticks. Remember the ones I made in here? And I just drizzled chocolate over them. I want to tell you, people love these. And they were just fruit and yogurt. But again, a great dessert some nights. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed this. Let's see how this is doing. Yeah, it's still dripping away. So my feeling is that I'm going to let it drip for a lot longer. Maybe even overnight. Now I'm going to work out how I'm going to do that. That looks like something it could drip into, doesn't it? Anyway, I'm going to make a plan and let it drip overnight. So keep experimenting, keep sharing your experiments, and I will keep doing these little videos for you. The soup is smelling great. As you probably saw, it is now really doing a good job. It has cooked. The lentils are cooked. Let me show you before I get off the broadcast. All right, so this is just in the couple of hours while we were talking. Do not pour it over your... Can you see that? All the vegetables are cooked. The lentils are cooked. The pearl barley is cooked. It's all looking super. Smells good. And now it's just a case of flavoring it. And I will let it cool down and flavor it and then put it into 1 cup servings and freeze it. We can do this. Save your scraps. And if necessary, if it gets really bad, save what's ever left in your plate if you live alone and make yourself soup out of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Think about how much food you throw away and going, hey, just because your eyes were bigger than your stomach, you know, if you really had to, could you do something with that food? I would say yes. I also wanted to know how many of you would like me to make shepherd's pie or something like that. Because I don't think we've done that recently. Waste not, want not. Yes, absolutely. And also, I cannot tell you how much better it is to cook a piece of meat and then cut it into 1 serving portions. I gave up freezing full meals because I realized that I did not eat full meals when they were in my freezer. But I would sit there and go, what do I feel like eating? Pork. And I could take out 1 serving of pork and go, okay, what do I want to do with it? You understand the difference in that? It left me so much more, many choices. When I make the shepherd's pie mixture, I freeze it into single serving containers so I can either use it for shepherd's pie or I can add pizza sauce to it and make spaghetti bolognese or something like that. So the base is what I'm looking for. And, you know, what you do with it, I can throw it over pasta just as it is and throw some plum sauce on it and think I died and went to heaven. I want to tell you something, Jody, a much bigger range of options. I want to tell you I'm wasting far less food since I've done that. Oh, interesting. Kimmy's made a gluten-free shepherd's pie. And by the way, Kimmy, just so that you know, I think about you often. And I don't know if you've seen it, but I, for some reason, bought a gluten-free cookbook one day. So if you would like me to, try some stuff out of here just so that you can enjoy them, let me know. And Jody, just so everybody knows, why do we need to be gluten-free? I know there's a good reason, I just can't remember what it is. Because we're gluten intolerant more than we know? Is that the reason? Anyway, I'll do more chatting with Jody on that one. So I am definitely, gluten is very inflammatory to the system. Okay, so it's much, for those of us who already have inflammatory problems, it increases your pain. Okay, and probably mine too. Interesting stuff. Thank you all for being here with me. I will continue to give you updates on how the cheese went. I'll take some pictures along the way, but I think I'm going to put it in here and then let it drip back into here. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put the bags in here and let it drip back into here, and for at least until I go to bed tonight, and maybe more. More information follows. This is DearMamaSal saying, love you dearly. Look after one another. Waste not, want not. Keep finding out what you can do. Find out what you would miss the most if you couldn't afford to buy it anymore, and make a plan around it. That's what I am doing. And also, the money I save by doing that, I can buy stuff that I probably couldn't afford otherwise. This is DearMamaSal saying, we can do this, people. And we can do it together, because your mind and mine together, we can solve so many of today's problems. And we are going to hit a whole lot more in the next 6 months. And we can hold each other's hands and hold our chins up high and get through this just by being smart and creative. This is DearMamaSal saying, bye guys, have fun. And I will see you on Sunday. Bye for now.